what's your first time being over here in this kind of? I mean, I know you know a lot of the coaches, but what's it been like for you so far?
Yeah, it's been good. I do know that both Shire and Lucas I came up playing against, so I have a relationship with those guys, and a handful of these guys actually recruited me as a player. So I've had relationships with some of them. Odom going all the way back to when I was 15 years old. So it's good. It's good to reconnect with all these guys, and we've been on a text message thread. So we've already been communicating, but we're all going to compete all year long, right? These are going to be intense games where we're trying to take each other out. So it's fun to come together collectively and try to help each other and help the conference and help lift this thing up.
Since you've gotten in place, so much of the focus has been on micro and just your team,
right,
getting your team ready. When you come to something like this and they're looking at the macro issues, scheduling and all that kind of stuff, do you have time to even focus on this type of stuff, or are you so focused on just your immediate needs?
Yeah, I think it's both. As a head coach at any level, you got to be aware of what's going on. You got to have an investment because all of this impacts your results, right? And obviously, it starts with your roster and your team and your management. But going back even for me, and I know I've touched on this, building a staff and finding ways to improve the building and update the practice facility. All those things are important. You just got to prioritize at whatever section. We've got 10 guys down the roster. We'll do 2 or 3 more that we're going to work through. A couple European guys that will take a little bit of time, but we're still focused on it. But now it shifts to getting the schedule done, and we're pretty close to getting that done. We're signing the contracts this week and next week, and then so it just kind of keeps shifting and evolving. And right in the middle of it, you got to come to these ACC meetings, but really for me, it's not an obligation; it's a privilege to come learn from some of the brightest minds in basketball. And I'm the new guy, and they've all sat in my seat at one point, and they're doing a great job with me and Lucas as first-time head coaches, just taking us through the ropes and what to expect, areas of concern, individually, collectively as a conference. So it's been fun to go through this.
What can you tell us about the vision for the schedule? How you went into that process?
Yeah, first and foremost, everyone thought I was nuts because I'm coming from the NBA where an off night you're still going against NBA All-Stars, right? If you take your foot off the gas at all, you're going to lose. And so I'm not used to. I'm familiar because I played, but I'm not used to scheduling bad teams. So I'm coming in. I'm like, I want to play everyone. Call this coach. Call it, and everyone's like, all right, slow down, big dog. We'll get there. So the deal I made, Michael Fly's helping us put the schedule together, and all the coaches have influence. But I said, give me a handful of big-time games that we can schedule, and Fly's done an unbelievable job making those connections. So we have, probable, contract's not signed, we'll have 3 big-time neutral games. We'll have 1 big-time game at home, 1 on the road. Obviously, the road one will be Florida, and then the homes and neutrals, we're still signing the contracts. But to me, when you book those games, I want them to be top 10, top 15 opponents, right? Because it's a way to measure yourself against the best. You can talk about wanting to improve the program and be the best and be competitive. You don't know what that feels like until you play those teams, right? And so the first thing I said is I want to play every Final Four team from last year. And I don't know if I'm going to get that done, but we're obviously the Duke and Florida one are on top of it. But those are the things that. And maybe I'm just young and naive. I want to play the best, right? And then on the bottom side, and this is what a lot of the meetings were about today, how do we collectively as a conference get that net up so we can get more than 4 or 5 teams in the tournament? And I think the SEC has done a good job both financially with their resources and roster, but also schedule-wise. They've done an incredible job lifting up the conference, and that's what we're trying to do.
Is that where now going to 18 ACC games, it gives you some flexibility on that non-conference scheduling to raise your RPI potentially?
Yeah, so it's and I'm learning all of this. It's all about the net, right, and strength of schedule and the quads. Quad 1, 2, 3, 4. But where it gets a little tricky and I've had so many schools reach out, and every school in Florida, FIU, FAU, UCF, USF, all of them, because it helps them, right? And those games, as much as I want to play them, sometimes those games don't help you, right? And no disrespect to any of those schools, but it's a constant, puzzle to put together of, okay, you got to play great opponents, and then you have to have very, very winnable games, right? And those middle ground, you got to play a couple of them, but that's where a lot of teams get in trouble, is playing those teams in the quad 2s and quads 3s that are, if you win them, doesn't really do much for you, and if you lose them, it destroys you. And so that's what we're trying to avoid as we put the schedule together.
anything else in the meetings that, I don't want to say like surprise, but like, you thought that was an interesting talking point that maybe like big picture with the college level that you hadn't necessarily considered before?
Yeah, I think a lot of this is with the house stuff, just in preparation for that. So that's been a good, and we knew most of it, but it's been a good refresher of what's potentially probably about to go down and how we handle that and the logistics of it. And I just think, again, right now, everywhere you turn, there's issues, right? And the solutions are all in progress. And so it's good for all of us to get in a room and a closed door where, and I mostly just listen because I haven't lived these problems that all these other coaches have lived, but it's fascinating to hear everyone's take on what's actually going on, right? Not what's in the media, what's actually going on and what we have to live every day. And that to me has been a great learning experience for me, just hearing everyone's issues of like, okay, yeah, now I got a level playing field of what's actually going on. How do we address these things? And so in particular, no, but a lot of this goes back to obviously the NIL, the amount of money, right? And how we're all being resourceful with our current constructs. And I think some of this will continue to evolve, but some of it, these are rules we got today and we got to live by it.
Now that your staff is complete finally, I guess just what's going on around the program right now, what you're trying to accomplish?
It's not complete. I got one more spot open, but most of the staff's complete. I got one more assistant coach to go. One of our assistants went to Tennessee, and first of all, I'm super happy for him. Mauro Morgan, he's unbelievable. I got to work for him for about 5 weeks. He obviously got a lot of money to go to Tennessee from Rick Barnes, and he's from Tennessee. And not only did I give him my complete blessing, I'm like, you have to take this for your family, for you. And one thing I told all of my coaches and our players is I want what's best for each of you. And that's not always what's best for me, right? And so when an opportunity like that presents itself, you got to go take it, and I'm happy for him. But I got one more assistant spot open now. But our staff's been incredible. First and foremost, we have a lot of good people that I trust that work their tails off, but good basketball minds that know how to teach, know how to get on the floor and sweat with the guys, know how to prep, know how to game plan. And most of my coaches, I think 3 out of the 4 I have right now have been previous head coaches at different spots. And so they've sat in my seat, they know what I'm going through. And in those things, they can help in a lot of different ways because they can see in real time it playing out. And it's been super helpful.
We saw the video you guys put out of the guys moving in, and so have you guys, like, have they been able to do some workouts and stuff? Like, what are you able to do right now?
Yeah, so they just got in town. Obviously, they got to get academics, orientation, all that lined up. The move-in was great. Go meet. A lot of the parents came in, so go meet the parents. Right now, for these first 2 weeks, it's going to be all voluntary weight room, voluntary on court. On court, we're not allowed to work with them. Only, I think, it's 8 weeks out of the whole summer. So that'll start at the end of the month. But in the meantime, and I call them player-led workouts. This is what we used to do back in the day. Players organize them, they come together as a group, and they get better. This isn't a time just because you can't get coached to not get better. So they're in the weight room every day, on the court every day. And the feedback I'm getting at least is they're getting after it. So I'm obviously here, so I can't see it with my own eyes. And but yeah, it's been good so far. Great.